Hello there. A topic that's been coming up quite a bit lately that I've heard all over the place is about money and what money is, how we can best understand it, and this gives us a sense for how to interact with it and what to do about it. So that's what I'd like to talk about today, a better conception of money. When we're thinking about money, and I have a video on economy and my conception of economy, which I think is very important to understand. What we're talking about is efficient trade, and that's all money allows for, is efficient trade. Anything you can do with money, you can do with barter, except for the time component. And the time component's really important, obviously, but that's why we have money. So if you get rid of money, you just have a barter system and all the same problems, because barter enables everything money enables pretty much. It just does so less efficiently. I was talking to Nick a while back on the Bridges of Meaning server, and Nick only comes on every once in a while. He makes knives. Wonderful guy. Very smart. And he was curious as to why money had spread out the way it had. So I gave him very generously my definition, and I said money is a representation of the value of potential in the future. Now, all of those words are deliberate. The value in the future is based on this potential that hasn't yet manifested, as judged by your past actions. So you've done some work, you get paid after you do the work. Typically, you should pay for stuff after you get it. Typically, you don't have to. It's not a big deal in a business, but it might be a big deal if you're working. And that is how that works. And then I was a little confused about money standards in terms of paper currency. And Nick pointed out to me that money is not supposed to point to material value. And I was like, well, that kind of makes sense if my definition's right, because it's future potential. So why would you want it tied to here and now material? That doesn't make any sense. So I gave him my definition, and he said the first form of currency was probably abalone, which is worth nothing. It has no intrinsic value, right? It has no material value, but it's pretty. And I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense then. That makes a lot of sense. And he said, that's why we came off the gold and silver standard. And that sort of blew my mind, because I was like, wait a minute. Gold and silver were fairly useless until electronics came around. And then when electronics came around, they weren't just pretty. You needed them for circuit boards. And they fixed the price of gold around that time very low, which was interesting. So the price of gold stopped fluctuating, and the dollar started fluctuating. So this is an interesting way to do it. What ultimately happens is you can see why someone like Elon Musk has lots of money. Why does Elon Musk have more money than Bill Gates? Bill Gates has sold a lot of products over a lot of years, and Elon Musk comes out of nowhere. Lots of money. But what he's doing is he is selling you the future. He's selling you the potential of a future with electric cars, with faster underground transportation, with global, always available high-speed internet, that's Starlink, and a future where we go to Mars. He's selling you all those things. Those are all in the future. He's not going to realize them, probably. And look, electric cars are silly. You just do the math and you kind of figure out there's not enough batteries. We can't make enough batteries. Batteries aren't good enough anyway. And there's not enough electricity. The current electric grid, to give even half the people a car, can't handle it. And we don't have the power generation. So it doesn't really matter. We can't generate that much power. And we don't have the power carrying capacity to carry enough power to charge all these cars. So in some ways, he's selling a dream that can't be realized, or at least not with the current technology. So it's a future dream, a dream where we will have enough electric grid resources, pipes to carry the power and power generated to feed all the electric cars that we want. Either the cars will become more efficient, or the power grid will become big enough to service us. Either way. But Elon Musk can't make that happen by himself. But he is enabling it by pointing the way. So he's pointing at something in the future, a potential in the distance ahead of us. And that's why he has so much money, because he's very wealthy in a very short amount of time, ultimately. And it really doesn't match any material way of thinking about money. His cars are terribly expensive. Even the cheap ones are terribly expensive. They're above the mean cost of a car. And they're not anywhere near as utilitarian as it may seem, right? They do get pretty good mileage, but it's not nearly as high as reported. And if you have a problem with them, you're kind of screwed. They're hard to fix. They're expensive to fix. They're even dangerous to fix because of the voltages involved. And they could light on fire, and they have. So that's not an idle threat. It's probably not going to happen, but it's good to note. So they're not like super cheap cars, and they're not a billion of them. So it's hard to imagine how he's amassed all this money, but mostly, it's investment money, and people are betting on him to do things that move the future. Even if he doesn't move the future in the things he does, he's moving the ball forward for everyone else thinking about the future and building infrastructure and understanding these problems and solving them, because he can't solve them all by himself. Obviously, had a little problem launching rockets recently. Didn't account for the space weather. So, no one can do that, right? But they can lead the way. And everybody that comes after him will have been inspired by him, at least in theory. And so he'll get all the attribution. This happens a lot, right? It happens with Edison. Edison, did all this wonderful thing with electricity. No, Tesla did all that. Edison invented the light bulb, for sure. Electric motor, Nikola Tesla. Power transmission, long distance, Nikola Tesla. Making it practical, because DC power wasn't practical. You'd have to have a DC power plant every 2 blocks, a big one too, to do electricity the way they ended up doing it with AC, which is much more efficient. So there's all these ways in which Edison gets all the credit for a bunch of stuff that he didn't do directly, but he enabled it. Like, he definitely enabled it. Like, he built the infrastructure. Tesla came to America to work for Edison, right? Tesla wouldn't have been Tesla without Edison. There's no question about that. But Elon Musk is going to be the next Edison-like character, because he's going to have enabled the future. We haven't had too many future advancements, ultimately, since Edison and Tesla on the scene. And before that, there was the telegraph and the steam engine. But since then, it's kind of been tepid. A nuclear plant is a giant steam engine. You put hot rocks and water, run a steam engine. Big steam engines, granted, but steam engines. So you can see the core technological advancement of electric cars is huge in potential, not in actuality. So just think about money in this way. It enables efficient bartering and trade by allowing you to pass value, future potential value, between people in the present, and then do what you want with it. Now, it's important to understand that there's a difference between income and wealth, and the important difference is cash flow. And you can always have more money by spending less money, irrespective of how much you make. And there's a book by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I kind of recommend that book. It's a good book for understanding money. So if you want to understand how to manage money and handle money, that would be a good book to try. There are other books, obviously. But understanding the difference between cash flow, which is how much you have coming in, that's not just your income, but it is also your income, and wealth, which is how much total value you could convert to cash, and how long that takes. That gets into the sort of time value money component. That's important, because if you don't have financial literacy, if you don't understand what money represents and why and how that works, you're likely to lose all your money no matter how much they give you. 80% of lottery winners are bankrupt within 5 years. Just saying. So giving people money doesn't really solve problems. It can create them, in fact. So that's a little quick overview on money. I wanted to try a sort of shorter video and see if people like it. So if you like it, let me know. Love the shorter stuff, want longer stuff, whatever it is. And if you've got topics you want to know about, please leave me a comment. And as always, I want to thank you for your time and attention.